Imagine that you're living in a world where you couldn't leave your house, and if you had to leave your house, it was under very, very strict conditions, and you can't go where you want to go, only to certain places, only at a certain time. Did you think that you'd be living in such a world? Especially if you live in the Western world. Well, that's exactly the world that we've been living in the last few months. And as you're aware of what's going on in Australia right now, people are being locked into homes like prisoners, as we've been this whole time, with the excuse of keeping us safe. You know where else this happened, where people were turned into prisoners so they could be kept safe? Where I grew up, in a tiny little country called Albania. Communist Albania was a prisoner country, just like a lot of Eastern European countries, or most Eastern European countries, basically all of them during the communist regime. But I'll speak from my experience where I grew up. And the reason why we were imprisoned is because we had to be kept safe, safe from the West, because the Western life and the Western lifestyle was like a virus. And as soon as someone would catch it by listening to Western music, watching Western movies, reading Western books, or doing a Western style, you know, you go to jail in Albania just for men having long sideburns. That's right. Even boxing was illegal. And this is just a tiny fraction of the insanity. See, if you were looking at it from this perspective, you'd think, wow, that's insane. So what is it like now looking at our world? It's insane, right? Hello, Cosmic Family. It's so good to see you. I am back in the island of magic, and it's amazing to be so close to the ocean and so immersed in nature. It's really, really incredible, as here in the Southern Hemisphere, we are approaching the spring equinox. And so many channeled messages have been coming through, and I will be sharing more and more of them with you, and be doing a lot more of Ascension updates, because as I've spoken before, and as many of you are sensing it, energy is speeding up. We have been in the portal of fire, and there's literally so much fire right now in the US. And we are entering a brand new phase that is being orchestrated to continue the grooming of humanity into deeper enslavement. I say deeper enslavement because it's already started. On the last Ascension update, some of you were saying, you know, well, it's been great to be in quarantine because I've been realizing what's been happening. That is true. In a lot of ways, it's great. See, I feel amazing. You know why? Because I remember receiving these messages when civil war was over in Albania and we escaped to the US. I remember being so excited and thinking, yes, I'm in the free Western world. I know it's not a perfect place, but for one, we're not, you know, starving or, you know, trying to survive. Where, you know, my parents could work and we felt safe. We wouldn't just get shot at. But I remember receiving these messages saying, you know, this freedom and this safety that you feel, it's not always going to be there. The Western world also is going to change. And it's not about the Western world. Really, it's not even about that. But the messages that came through saying, in your lifetime, there's going to be another major shift energetically on planet Earth, and it is not going to be comfortable and is not going to be nice. And I just remember thinking, oh, I really hope this is not true. I really hope this is not true. And this year, when I began sharing the channeled messages, I remember Sabin saying, we told you that this was going to happen. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, meaning it's not about feeling bad right now. And it's not also about ignoring what is happening to say, oh, everything is great, everything is great. The truth is that being a human being is pretty freaking amazing. And there are beings on this planet that see that and that want to harness human energy to feed on it. It is what it is. However, what these energies or what these beings thrive on is not just people living joyfully and generating a lot of awesome energy and then they feed on it. What they feed on is fear. What they feed on is pain. And so for them to create systems that keep people fearful and in bondage, it's not such a big deal. And this time is not about, being in fear and saying, oh my God, what is happening? This is so bad. It is about recognizing what's happening. And when you are truly awake, you're not frightened. It's quite the opposite. Because you see the truth. And the difference is that those who are living in fear right now, they can't do anything about it. That's why so many people feel and are literally imprisoned, because they cannot do anything about it, because they are so dominated by fear. They are so dominated by pain. So, what is this time about? Why am I here sharing this with you? Some of you already know what is happening. Well, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because it's not just about letting people know what is happening. It's also saying, well, what's next? Because these forces, they've got a lot of plans in order. And a lot of people are getting caught up by surprise because they're saying, wait, this wasn't my plan. I had this whole life set up. I wanted to travel, I wanted to do this or that, and now I can't. Right? And so this is what it's about. See, for me, I began to make a major shift in my life last year because I knew something was coming. And when I look at where I was when this fear-demic took over, and if I had not made the changes that I had made because I listened to the call, it would not have been pretty for my life circumstances. But I listened. I listened to the call and I took the steps. And so the reason that I share this with you is that those who are awake and getting the call, answer the call, make the shifts necessary in your life. It's not going to be comfortable. So what are these shifts? Well, first of all, it's important to free yourself from fear. It's important to truly awaken and to understand what ascension is. And next is to begin seeing how this physical reality is being changed by those around. Meaning, they are going to change, as you are noticing now, that they want to force people to take certain vaccines, right? So what are you going to do about it, right? Well, I think one of the most important things and this comes through in the messages, is you want to be agile and on your feet. Okay? You want to be agile and on your feet. Okay? This is really, really important. If you live in a city, you've got to become aware, because life in the cities is about to change massively. And it's about to shrink down, and there's going to be even more control in cities. Also, food, because a lot of the food is not being grown in the cities, it's going to change the dynamic of the food that will be available for those people living in the cities. And here is a very, very huge thing that is happening. I mentioned to you the date August 28th, and I remember this date coming in through the channeled messages, and I thought, what is this date? What is this date? What's happening in the planets? And what happened is that this was the date when Neuralink was announced. And I realized that it was a date about recognizing how, and this is really, really, really huge, technology is going to flip our reality as we've known it on its head. And so many people are not even aware of it, because so many people are caught up in the drama being set up by the beings that want to control and dominate humanity. They're created all this drama, they're really capitalizing on this people's addiction to this dual nature of reality, and people's lack of understanding of how this dual nature works and how harmony is part of it. And so they're using a lot of different causes, a lot of different, basically creating drama, setting people one against the other. Divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And as this happens, technology is taking over. And technology has its place in our evolution. However, AI is about to go live. And if we're not awake and aware and connected to this planet Earth and connected to the cosmos and connected to our true nature, we will be led astray. And at first it'll feel so good because, oh, convenience. Convenience, 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 convenience. 5G towers zapping our brains. And without realizing, we will submit ourselves to forces that not only do not have our best interest in mind, but could care less what the interest is. And so there are some huge, huge changes happening right now, and it's building up and it's building up. You're seeing the energy is building up so much, and it's manifesting in nature, let alone the physical manifestations that will come about by the collective humans reacting to this energy building up. So it is very important to recognize that this is not a time to be fearful. This is not a time to shut ourselves away and to deny our physical existence. It really is a time of waking up. And when you wake up, I want you to visualize this for a moment. When you're asleep and you're just asleep, then you wake up. First it's like, oh, I'm waking up. And then you really wake up. I want you to really visualize this. Imagine that you are so awake and so crisp and so live. And you can really sense, not with the physical senses what's going on, because they can be easily manipulated. But you sense with your third eye what is going on. You don't deny it. You're not scared of it. You're simply aware of what is going on. And that's a huge step. See, most people have a hard time just getting to the step of awareness. The step of awareness. See, many people are in denial of what's happening. Even within, the spiritual community, because a lot of people use spirituality as escapism. When you become aware, when you really wake up, you begin to see the illusions around you and how others utilize them. See, the reason why this enslavement grooming that's happening right now is working, to some degree, because there are so many people that are awake and aware and that are making a difference, and you're probably one of them. If you're watching this, it's because you probably see what is happening. And you're probably looking around you and saying, what can I do about it? What can I do? And some of you are already sharing these messages. Great. But the reason why it's working on others, because so many people were already living enslaved before this happened. Meaning they're already living enslaved in fear, in reaction to life, to their inner dramas and their traumas. And then just like zombies saying, okay, I'll get a job and pay the bills and I'm alive and another day, right? So many people were already enslaved. And that's why this enslavement has been working for them. Because they're just like, okay, well, my life was already shit. So there you go. But for those who have been awake and aware, those people, one of a lot of the messages that are coming through now, they're saying, come together, come together. The ones that are awake and aware right now, come together. Because not everyone has to be awake for ascension to take place. Those who have already ascended from a 3D perspective of existence to a 4 and 50 perspective of reality and are living it, they raise the energy so much that and others who come in contact with them, a switch happens in them. They say, something's different about me, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. When sometimes when the channeled messages come through, it's not always comfortable. I don't always like what they have to say because they are challenging my perspective. I often will have a 3D perspective and it gets challenged when the messages come through. And sometimes to hear the truth is challenging. That's why we have this symbolic expression of, taking a pill, taking the red pill or whatnot. And part of waking up, see, is not comfortable, right? Sometimes when you've been in a long slumber and you're waking up, the alarm goes off. Not the alarm's going off, the alarm's going off, the alarm is going off. And so many people are just snoozing and snoozing and snoozing and snoozing. And they're being tied up even more and more and more and more. Next thing you know, they'll be so tied up they can't even snooze anymore. They'll just hear the alarm going off. Like this horrible sound that they can't stop. But for those who are just still have a sense of freedom and the alarm snoozes, they wake up. when you wake up, you can actually do something about it. Because when you wake up, you have that initial discomfort, but you realize that you're not living in fear and bondage anymore. So that's when you can actually do something about it. That's when you can be clear enough to receive messages of, okay, what's next? Okay, what's this stuff that the news is telling me, and even my family's telling me, or all these people are telling me, or the things that everybody around me is doing, and what's really true? And this is the most difficult thing. It's easy to go with what everybody else is doing, right? That's why a lot of people do that, because they say, well, it's easier. That's why so many people are starting to police each other, because it's easier to just go along than to say, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute over here. What's really going on? Oh, yeah? And that's what this is about. And it's very, very, very important, because things are changing. Things are changing right before our eyes. And many people have not been ready for it. Instead, they're finding themselves prisoners in their own homes. And it's for safety. Look, I wish I didn't have to make these videos, because when I was born in a communist country, life was not so great. And I saw generations of my family affected by this. And when I witness what is happening, not just from my previous experience in this lifetime, but also previous experiences in previous lifetimes, and the channeled messages coming through, I can see from not just a perspective of this moment now, but a cosmic perspective. And right now, there's a lot of cosmic karma. A lot of cosmic karma that is playing itself out. And so this is very much a spiritual matter. It is not, a political matter like they want to make you believe. That's an illusion. That's a smoke screen. It is very much a spiritual matter. Because when people live in spiritual bondage, it's very easy for others to come in, because spiritual bondage is living in bondage and seeing this physical reality as the only reality that exists. That's why so many people, it's so easy right now for so many people to fall prey to this enslavement conditioning that has been unfolding for a while. Now it's just speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And so it's very, very important to become aware that this is very much a spiritual matter. Because when we wake up to our true spiritual nature, we realize, wow, I am worthy. Wow, I am a free being. Wow, I am more than just my conditioning. Wait a minute, you want me to do what? You want me to cover up my face while you're there behind the curtain doing some crazy stuff, and you're telling me, ooh, you're gonna kill somebody if you don't put that mask on, let alone yourself, or you're gonna endanger people. Now, this is just a tiny example. The mask is just a tiny example of what's happening. It's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that, the things that are happening and the changes that are coming that will take a lot of people by surprise. And that's why I am sharing this with you. Because it's not just about you and I knowing this, but it's about being ready. And it's about living with that freedom in the forefront, and everyone who comes in contact with us senses that. This is a very, very powerful time. And I'm very grateful to share it with you. I am very grateful that you are here. I'm in contact with so many of you, and I receive so many messages from people who are actually really waking up and are saying, you know, I'm having a great time right now because I'm seeing what is happening, and I'm ready for this next step. And I also receive messages from people who are saying, this is crazy what is happening. What can I do about it? What can I do about it? And sharing these messages is what we can do about it. So, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you feel inspired or touched, feel free to share it. And follow the links below. If you are feeling the call, come to Brazil, connect with your cosmic family, and wake up and stay awake. And do the work necessary to see the truth in every step of the way. Because this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. It is a powerful time. And as agents of chaos move around and create the chaos to keep most people in a reactive state and fearful and afraid and just willing to hand themselves over to be enslaved, now's the time for the agents of ascension to come forth more and more and more. All the light workers and all the bright souls who are awake, who are turned on and receiving messages. Now is the time to be there, to be present, and to answer the call. Because this is just the beginning. It's about to get wild. All right. Thank you. And realize that every single one of you matters. Every single one of you matters right now.